This is a Fox News alert. The crisis at our border is getting worse. Another plane full of Central American immigrants, mostly children, traveling alone, landing in San Diego. Also today, new protests in the town that has become a flashpoint for the immigration crisis. Murrieta, California. And that's where Fox News correspondent Will Carr is live right now. Will?
Hi, Greta. Well, we haven't seen any buses arrive to Murrieta yet today, but that has not stopped a number of protesters and supporters from showing up. Take a look. Both have crowded outside of this federal processing facility, and they are both fired up. The protesters tell us that they are worried that if they allow the buses with immigrants, many of whom have women and children, to be dropped off at this short-term facility, they fear that they'll then be released into the community where taxpayers will have to pay for their food, clothing, housing, even health care. Some say that they have serious concerns over diseases that have already been brought into the country. Now, on the other hand, supporters say that the immigrants should be considered as refugees, and it would be inhumane to not help them. There's been a lot of verbal sparring throughout the day. You can hear some of it right now. Now, earlier in regards to the plane that landed in San Diego with immigrants, there were reports that they were bused to Chula Vista. That's about 10 miles south of San Diego. The mayor of Murrieta says that he's still trying to figure out if more buses will come here either today or later this week. He says that he really can't get any answers from the federal authorities, but he says that if they do end up coming here, that will really just be a Band-Aid on a problem that is quickly spreading across the country. Greta.
Well, in terms of, obviously there's been no violence. That's a good sign, right? Just people exercising their First Amendment at this point?
That's right. No violence today. There's been a lot of verbal sparring. You can hear them right now. On Friday, 6 people were arrested, so they've had an increase in the amount of local law enforcement here, but so far, no reason to get the police involved today. Greta.
Obviously, everyone's very heated about a very tough issue for so many. Will, thank you. And with 70% of Texas border agents, yes, 70%, now assigned to not guarding the borders but taking care of immigrants, one group says it's time to call in the National Guard to protect the border. And that's not all. Listen to this. They say a civilian militia may be needed as well. So why do they say that? Joining us, protester and Tea Party member Gary Dunn. Good evening, Gary.
Hi, Greta. This is Gary Dunn from the Tea Party and FreeRepublic.com. How are you? You look great.
I'm very well. All right, Gary, what's the problem? Why are you out there?
I think
Gary,
you asked me a question. I didn't hear you.
I asked
now I can hear you.
Now you can hear me. Why are you out there?
We're out here because our coyote-in-chief has asked illegal immigrants to come into our country, and they're giving them places to live, and they're taking care of them, and they're sending riot police to counter the protesters that are here that believe in our constitutional republic and that we should be a nation of laws. It's against the law to bring these people here.
All right. Now, I understand you're going to Texas and that you want Governor Rick Perry to call in the National Guard. Is that correct?
Exactly. We want him to take all of the resources that are available to him and to send them to the border, because it's the federal government's responsibility to protect our borders, and they're not. They're opening them up and making them into a sieve. And while the Border Patrol agents are busy changing diapers and watching kids with scabies and young girls who are getting raped, the terrorists and the cartel people are sneaking across the border.
Do you find any sort of response from your politicians in terms of trying to put the lid on this and try to come up with some sort of resolution, something that works? Do you see any of that?
No, I don't. You know, I wish that Boehner would defund everything that is not constitutional. We're supposed to be run by our Constitution, and we aren't. And Boehner, instead of doing what he wants to do, he's going to sue the president, which the lawsuit would stretch out until he's out of office, and Boehner will just cry.
So what is it that you want? I mean, be sort of practical, thinking in terms of whether it's what will work. You think in terms of what our history is, what our culture is, what makes sense to do for people who are coming into this country or trying to keep people out of the country. Whatever it is, what do you want to have happen?
Well, I would like to have our laws enforced and let people come in for legal immigration. there's a lot of politicians that say like, all the people here, they're going to make them legal but not give them citizenship, but they're not going to put them in front of the line who are doing it legally. There's thousands of people who are doing it legally and they're staying in their own country until they get the okay to come here. We want all those people to go back to their own countries and apply legally.
Gary, thank you for joining us, and we'll continue to watch, and I hope that things don't get too heated there. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much, Greta.
And Republican Representative Bob Goodlatte is just back from the border. He saw the crush of immigrant children being held at a border patrol station, saw a 15-year-old boy, a mother, and her baby apprehended. Representative Goodlatte joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good to be with you, Greta.
Obviously, you can see things are pretty hot and heated there.
Well, rightfully so. They are expressing their First Amendment rights, but the last message that the Tea Party member expressed, I think, is one that a lot of Americans share, and that is enforce the law.
And you were down there on the border. What do you see?
Well, I see a lot of Border Patrol agents who are working very hard, doing their job, working overtime, apprehending a far higher number of people than they were not too long ago, and then seeing them released into the interior of the country. So we have a very serious problem there, and there's a lack of leadership, I think, on the part of the president in getting ahead of this issue, starting with dealing with the Mexican government and the governments of these 3 Central American countries and asking for their help. I've spoken with the leaders of the Mexican government, the Foreign Secretary, the Homeland Security Secretary, and the Attorney General, who said they would like to work with the United States to secure their southern border with Guatemala to keep a lot of these people from coming into the country. The president could do other things in that regard, but he also could take a tough stance with regard to the applications as they come in and do what was done until not too long ago, and that is have a very jaundiced view as to whether or not these people are entitled to political asylum or refugee status. They're not entitled to it. When we talk to people there, when we talk to the Border Patrol agents, they said that overwhelmingly what people say they want is to be reunified with their parents who are already illegally in the United States. So this means their parents left them in apparently this dangerous place, came to the United States, and now have paid a human trafficker thousands of dollars to bring their young child through 1,400 miles of danger. Some are killed, some are maimed, some are diverted into sex trafficking, and then reunify them with them in the United States. That's the wrong thing to do.
We only have a minute left, but why is this exploding all of a sudden? Why all these numbers? Why are people all of a sudden coming in the borders and young people? What happened that all of a sudden these, we're seeing so much of this?
Well, I think the president sent the message when he began to do administrative legalizations, things that he doesn't have the authority to do as president of the United States. The word went forth to these countries. The human traffickers are the biggest advertisers down there. They say, pay me thousands of dollars. I know how to get you into the United States. I know what you should tell the Border Patrol folks when you get there if they apprehend you. And so many of them are just coming and turning themselves in very willfully, knowing that after they're held for a few hours, they're going to be released into the interior of the United States. Adults with work authorization, children oftentimes sent to their parents who are already illegally here.
Well, this is a situation that's been going on for a long time. I went to the president's speech in 2010, July, up at American University on immigration, and at that time he said something would be done. Well, here we are, and things don't look good.
And because he hasn't done anything during that time, it is magnified. We have now a 1,300% increase in the number of people since last year, and projected to be close to 2,500% increase by next year. 150,000 people next year.
Well, we need something. We need to fix this because it's obviously a problem. Congressman, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.